I always complained about my knees on whenever I did any of these interviews because everything else came back, but my knees were still painful and stiff. Well, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but my knees suddenly came back.
George, welcome back.
I'm very, very happy to be back, Dave.
Awesome. So I understand you've got some carnivore updates. Just before we get into them, could you maybe give us a little bit of a summary of your carnivore journey so far?
Yeah, certainly. Just a quick word of warning to our viewers, as we were just talking about. This is nothing but a happy story. And as Kerry Mann would say, I'm very much on a spiritual journey and I'm much more in touch with my emotions now. So as I report on the happy stories, there is a danger that I might lose a bit of composure. So please bear with me and I'm sure we can edit this out. So let's have a quick look at my show notes. Yeah, I'll say we're going to have a laugh today, Dave, because as you know, both you and I have a very silly sense of humour, which we share. So we'll have a bit of laugh about that. Right. Okay. So how did I find Carnivore? Well, by accident, basically. It was a long process of going through low carb ketovore, and then I've been fibre free now for about a year exactly, or just over a year probably. So that's how I found Carnivore. However, let's have a look at some others. Right. So why did I find Carnivore? On March the 1st, 2022, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I was morbidly obese with very high triglycerides, dangerously high triglycerides. I was a heart attack waiting to happen. And I'm afraid that a lot of my wider social circle, I've lost probably about 10 friends in their 50s and 60s, or 10 people I know anyway, over the last 2 years. So I was going to be one of those, and I'm not anymore, thankfully. So let's have a think. Yeah, okay. So when did I find Carnivore? Well, just in time, as I just hinted at, because I was that heart attack waiting to happen, but I found it just in time. Where did I find Carnivore? Well, I found it on YouTube, and it was because I was researching keto at the time, and the algorithm through Dr. Ken Berry and Kelly Hogan's amazing interview, which was entitled "Women Eats Only Meat for 13 Years." And I saw Kelly's transformation, and that actually put the idea that carnivore was feasible into my head. I didn't go full carnivore at that time, but eventually I got to full carnivore, mainly because of Zoe Harkin, What About Fibre? And she basically flagged up the fact that fibre is a horrible thing and dangerous. So I cut out all fibre about a year ago. And here I am, a year on, fully successful carnivore, plenty of faults, still drink alcohol, still drink coffee. But I've achieved such results that I am not guilty about that, to be perfectly honest with you. Because if I can achieve the results I have with alcohol and with coffee, then so be it. Sorry, the carnival police, but please don't come and arrest me.
So one of the things that you mentioned before is you were morbidly obese before. So like, what is the difference between then and now?
Okay, so yeah, we'll probably touch on this at the end again as well. So I've got a list of things that I wanted to, the health benefits, which I'm going to do at the very end. But just to give you the heads up, I was 133 kilograms or 293 pounds. As of this morning, I weighed in at exactly 89 kilograms, which is around the 200-pound mark. So in Kerry Mann's terms, he measures in 10-pound, 10-pin bowling balls. So I've managed to lose over 9 bowling balls that I was carrying around with me on my body. It's just the difference is utterly amazing. It really is. So I can't complain. It's absolutely it's been brilliant. So should we go on to the carnivore update that we were talking about?
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah. So thanks to Carl of the Primal Lifestyle, who interviews a guy called Jacob McAteer, the Raw Carnivore. Carl decided when I did an interview with him that he was going to go and try and experiment with Raw Carnivore and asked me if I wanted to do so. I said, nah, not really. I'm happy with my carnivore. But when he did it, I thought, well, I'll support Carl because he's a great mate of mine. He's a Primal Lifestyle, by the way. And so I tried it. I tried the first week. I tried 2 steaks and I really enjoyed them. It's great. The only thing I will say about raw steak is it's brilliant texture, but the flavor is a bit bland. So I do cheat and I put a very thin smear of mustard on them, but very thin. so very little in the way of damaging stuff. And I use pink Himalayan salt to savor it as well. Now, I got on so well with it that I'm up to at least 10 raw steaks a week, which I take into work with me, and I eat them raw in there, much to the horror, amusement of my workmates who think I'm a complete weirdo. Well, most people think I'm a complete weirdo anyway, but as I tell people, I'm a healthy weirdo, a very healthy weirdo. Okay, so they accept it. So that's no problem at all.
I'm just imagining you like being this kind of circus attraction at lunchtime in the office.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not only that, but when I go out to the restaurants as well, I don't eat raw carnivore at the restaurants. I eat cooked carnivore at the restaurants, but I go out with my racing clients quite a lot to a place called the Bistro, and we went out back a lot, and everybody knew I was carnivore, and everybody was waiting in anticipation to see how I dealt with it. And Dawn at the Bistro, who's also a racing person, she knows me now, so she just produced this plate of wonderful rare roast beef, and everybody just, are you for real? Yes, I am. And so yeah, everybody now accepts me as a carnivore, and they know that my health journey, because most of them knew me before I actually healed myself. In fact, I've got a wonderful story about that coming up as well. So yeah, it's great. It's just where it is. And right, since going raw carnivore, nearly raw carnivore, I'm not allowed to do it at the weekend, by the way, because Lainey, my beloved wife, it absolutely grosses her out. So and she's a great meat eater as well, premium meat eater, and she likes to cook for us at the weekend. So no, I don't do raw carnivore at the weekend. She herself is now keto, I'd say, low carb anyway, because I think I've probably told you before, she is in remission from breast cancer, and she has discovered Otto Warburg and Thomas Seyfried, recognizes the fact that sugar is the perpetrator of cancer. So she is taking steps to, alongside oral chemo, she's using keto to keep the horrible thing at bay, and so far we're having success from that point of view. So fingers crossed that it carries on that way. So yeah, gut health. Right. Okay. So I had good gut health on carnivore when I was eating minced beef, ground beef, as our American friends call it. Since I've gone raw carnivore, that gut health has now become perfect. You know, we carnivores, we talk about our gut health quite a lot, and now there's no IBS whatsoever, no constipation, no bloating, no flatulence, and the bowel movements on the Bristol scale are absolutely perfect. If anybody's not familiar with the Bristol scale, it is a 1 to 7 chart, which Zoe Harkin flags up, and I'm the perfect 3 or 4 on the Bristol scale now, which is it's really, really good. You know, very few bowel movements, and they're very easy and small when they happen. So that's right. Okay, now this is a big one. Up until 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago now maybe, I always complained about my knees on whenever I did any of these interviews, because everything else came back, but my knees were still painful and stiff. I've complained to you in the past, DC in the past, Carl in the past. After going raw carnivore, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but my knees suddenly came back. Not fully, but all the pain went. They're still stiff, but I'm half hoping that the stiffness is going to go. Now, I work at the moment 1.7 miles from my house. So I'm walking to work and back every day. So I'm walking 3.5 miles now a day, pain-free. Compare that to 2022, when I was diagnosed with metabolic syndrome and I couldn't walk. I could barely actually put one foot in front of the other. And it was a really painful, slow chore just getting to the shops, etc., etc. At work, they had to build me a ramp to get into my office because I work on a construction site. So we have like caravan type affairs, which is my office. So they had to build me a ramp, a stone ramp to get into it. Now I can just step up, no problems at all. So that the actual health benefits that I found from raw carnivore, if that is the case, if it is raw carnivore, are absolutely amazing. Now, I've even done some experimental running steps recently. I sort of did 100. I've measured this. I do 100 walking paces. Then this is what I did the other day: 55 running paces, 145, 135, 120. So I did 160 running steps. Now it was awkward, and I probably, I'm never going to be a runner again. But I'm 59 now. but it's just nice to be able to know that I can do that. I think, didn't you have a similar experience when you were crossing the road or something and suddenly found yourself breaking into a run? Am I right in thinking that?
Well, you got a good memory. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had to run to, the traffic light was changing. So I had to run to get across. And yeah, it was just like I got this instant feeling like stop, my brain saying stop running because it's gonna hurt. But I had to keep running. And when I got to the other side, I'm like, oh, it doesn't hurt anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's amazing.
yeah, that actually I had a very similar thing. So I was crossing when I first realised I could run again. I was in exactly the same situation, and I thought, as Bart K wouldn't say, "Strike me sideways." I'm running again. So yeah, we won't use Bart's more colourful language, but that's exactly what I thought. That's went through. It's Bart's language that went through my head, but we'll spare your viewers that. Yeah, so it's been absolutely great news, and also. This is the first shout out to the International Carnivore family, as we now call it. I did a fairly hard 3 mile walk on a beauty spot, which is a cliff walk, with Ziggy, the carnivore camper. She is a huge YouTuber herself, and she filmed it. And we did 3 miles, and I was slow. We were slow, but I achieved it, and it was a lot of uphill stuff, some very dodgy downhill stuff. We both have walking sticks, and yeah, so she filmed it. She has posted part one of it, which she posted last weekend. So if anybody wants to go and have a look at me walking and talking, then you'll find it on Carnivore Camper. It's a fairly recent post of hers. Her name is Ziggy. Our relationship transcends carnivore because both of our spouses are cancer sufferers. So we have the cancer carnivore connection there as well. Now, it was a great day for me, really, because Ziggy lives 17 miles from me, and she is the first carnivore, not of my own creation, that I have actually met face to face. She's the first YouTuber. So it was a memorable day, memorable walk. She's got an incredible sense of humor. So yeah, please, anybody who hasn't heard of Ziggy the Carnivore Camper, go and find her, and please like and subscribe. She's only got a very small channel at the moment, but we can build that. I'm sure we can, and we will be looking at building other channels in a bit when we come to that part of this interview. And also, yeah, so the other thing I've noticed is increased nail growth. My fingernails need clipping quite a lot more. My toenails as well. I do go to a what do you call it? I'll go to a spa. I have a pedicure every 3 months, which is good. And the bizarre thing is, as you can see, I have quite a significant bald patch. But as I run my hand over this bald patch, I can feel a very fine growth of hair, a very thin growth of hair actually coming back. So I think you had a similar experience with hair, didn't you, Dave?
Yeah, it's yeah, a bald patch up here, and it's just started.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I
I
saw that
noticed
video.
about a year in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's my sort of uh, carnivore update, if you like. Now, the reason I came on your channel in January was because I wanted a rant against the NHS, the National Health Service, because I had a really, really, really bad experience with them over the diabetes thing. I won't name the medical centre which was involved, but the next chapter of what we're about to talk about, I've called NHS Reset, because the reset button in my relationship with the National Health Service has very much been hit. Right, so back in the spring, Lainey was at her medical centre, which is East Key Medical Centre. I can name them because I've got nothing but good to say about them. And she noticed that there was a sign on the wall saying that they were very interested in taking on veterans, armed service veterans, which I am, obviously. I was a veteran of the First Gulf War. So I applied to transfer away from my horrible surgery to East Key Medical Centre, and they accepted me, which was very good news. So that was, I think, in June I was accepted over there. And right, there was an Armed Forces Day on June the 22nd in Bridgewater in Somerset, which is my hometown. So I went to that, obviously. And I was approached by a lovely lady in NHS uniform, and her name is Terry Underwood. Now, Somerset County now have the Somerset Armed Forces Covenant, partnership. Now, the Armed Forces Covenant is the government's obligation to us to actually look after us, which they have not been doing, but they've changed now, and they are enforcing it. She is the project manager for Somerset. She approached me and asked me if I was registered with a GP, because many apparently veterans aren't. And I said, yes, I've just transferred to East Key Medical Centre. And she said, that's really, really good news, because I am on Monday, the 24th of June, she said, I am going there for 3 days to train them in the Armed Forces Covenant and what they have to do. So that was really good news. Terry is a lovely lady. We spoke for about half an hour. I told her about my health journey, and she was really pleased about it. And I told her I was carnivore, and she said, yeah, she said the narrative's changing, and people are a lot more open-minded now. Well, at least nurses are. I'm not sure about doctors. Well, I've got a good story about a doctor coming out later, actually. So so on 26th of September this year, I had my first appointment with East Key Medical Centre. Now, it was to get my test done. It was done by a healthcare assistant called Vicky. And I went in, and she was an absolutely lovely lady, much nicer than the idiot I had at my previous surgery, who was rude and unhelpful. Vicky was absolutely lovely. She took all my tests, and I've got a few funny stories to tell you about that. I'd actually walked a mile to get there, so my blood pressure was quite high, 177 over something, but I was literally still sweating. She took it again about 20 minutes later. It was down to 155 and a downward trend, so that was no problems. It was a low-carb friendly environment, because Vicky's son is a type 1 diabetic, so she is low-carb herself. So, okay, fair enough. That's unusual for the NHS. So she took my blood pressure, and then she had to test me for foot neuropathy, because obviously, as you know, type 2 diabetics, they lose feeling in their feet. So she got my foot and then tickled it with a sort of wiry thing, and I nearly went through the roof. She was absolutely amazed. Oh, crikey, you've got very ticklish feet. So clearly you haven't got neuropathy. Now, she also had to test my pulse in my foot to see if I had a good, strong pulse in my foot. So she put on a pair of earphones, I think, and had this. It was like I suppose like a digital stethoscope. So she put that on my foot, and her eyebrows nearly left her head. She literally jumped. She said, that's the strongest pulse I've ever recorded in a diabetic foot. So she said, clearly there's no danger of neuropathy there. You won't be losing any toes in the very, very near future. The expression on her face was absolutely priceless. It really was. So she was fascinated by carnivore as well. She was fascinated to the point where she was interested in it, not critical of it. And she actually asked me about it. So the best thing I could do is I said, look, I'll just give you one name that you can look up on YouTube. And I called up Dr. Ken Berry on type 1 diabetes, because that was her special interest. She took a note, and she was going to go home and research Dr. Ken Berry. Another small victory in the game of life, Dave. Another happy small victory in the game of life. But it doesn't end there. So that was Vicky, and she was absolutely brilliant. Now, on the 9th of October, I had to go back for my B appointment, which I didn't get from the old surgery. They denied me my results, my test results. So I had a lovely lady called Nurse Abby, quite young, and I went in. I was fairly nervous, because obviously I wanted to have great success. And she sat me down and said, what have you done? Basically, she said, this is the most spectacular success story that I have ever seen when it comes to type 2 diabetes. She said, your blood tests are absolutely perfect. She said, I can't believe it. You know, it's I'll go through my HbA1c scores later, but she said she just was absolutely gobsmacked. She was absolutely delighted. So I got into the carnivore conversation with her, and I was expecting the pushback. Remember, we had a joke privately about the argument room in Monty Python. Yeah, so I went there. You actually asked me to go in and say, is this the right room for an argument? I didn't dare do that, but I actually did bring up the Monty Python sketch about the argument room, and I said, I was expecting an argument today, Abby, and I told her about the Monty Python sketch, but she was that young that she didn't actually remember it. So I said, you do realise this is a big disappointment to me, don't you? She said, what? I said, well, I came here expecting an argument. I said, I've been paying my tax I've been paying my taxes all my life, and I've been paying to have this argument. But you're not having an argument with me. And she just laughed and said, no. She said, congratulations, this is amazing. And we talked about Carnivore, and I had a document prepared, which I carry around with me now, which lists all of our doctors and professors. And also on the back of it, I do the history of the lie, the Ansel Keys, Sylvester Graham, John Harvey Kellogg, Ellen Gould White, the 3 Harvard pieces of vermin, Stark, Hegsted, and somebody or other. And Dennis Burkitt, who was the fiber man, not an evil guy, but misguided. I actually called it the evil and the misguided. And on the other side of the page, I put the good and the suppressed, which includes Professor John Yudkin, the sugar man, pure, white, and deadly. Sir Philip Randall, who in 1963 discovered the Randall cycle, which Professor Bart Kaye's very keen on. Now, Professor Bart asked the question, why isn't it more widely known? I think I have the answer to that, because he actually discovered the Randall cycle in 1963, which was when that human being, expletive removed, Ansel Keys, was at the height of his fame. So I'd imagine that Sir Philip Randall probably disappeared under the Ansel Keys fame and glory, if you like, or notoriety as it now is. That's my answer to Professor Bart as to why Sir Philip Randall isn't more famous. Who else have I put on there? There's quite a couple of others as well who've been suppressed over the years. And I included Michaela Peterson Fuller, who spoke to the Senate recently, and also include our great hero, Kerry Mann, who is leading the fight from the non-medical professional point of view with the healing humanity. So I gave that document, and she took it away quite gladly. She's very glad, and I probably said, I'm going to go and do a bit of research on this and see what I think. So yeah, absolutely happy story with the NHS. I'm delighted to actually just have a happy story about the NHS instead of the horror stories that we usually hear. But further to that, on the 23rd of October, last Wednesday, I got invited to a veteran health conference organised by Terry Underwood, the wonderful project manager. I accepted it. I went along, and in fact, I was the only ordinary veteran, if you like. The rest were a lot of them were veterans, but they are in healthcare, providing mental health care and physical health care for veterans. And it was all about how they can improve their service of veterans. But it was very, very interesting. And I actually ran into an old mate of mine from a long time ago from the army. But right, so I was sat next to a GP. He was an ex-Navy GP officer, but he now is a GP in a surgery not too far away. Poor man. Basically, I engaged him in conversation, and I think he's probably horrified by that fact now. I had the document with me, and I went through it with him, and I told him my story, showed him my before and after photographs. Well, before photograph, obviously, he saw me. Wow, that's amazing. What is that, Wegovy? That horrible drug that they're I said, no, it's Carnivore. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, I eat only meat. Only meat. I don't eat any plant food. And he was totally confused, and he was very interested. But when I explained to him, I went through the document with him, and he seemed terrified, absolutely terrified of the truth. Why? Because he is contractually obliged to tell the lie. One thing I did notice is that he had no knowledge, very little knowledge of the history of the nutritional train wreck that we've watched. He'd heard of Ansel Keys, hadn't heard of the 7 Nation study, never heard of the Minnesota coroner experiment, had heard of John Harvey Kellogg, never heard of Ellen Gould White or the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He was aware of Dennis Burkitt, fiber man, because of Burkitt's lymphoma. So yeah, and look, going on to the other side of the page, never heard of Professor John Yudkin. Never heard of William Banting was another one I put on there. I think he said he'd had heard, but he just had no knowledge of the history that we we as carnivores know about the history of the train wreck. So that gave me a direct access to a GP, and it just goes to prove that they have no nutritional sense or education whatsoever. Anyway, he would look totally bemused. He looked a bit terrified, and he said, "Well, take this away with me," he said, "and I'll start to study it." He said, "But you do realise that even if I find that what you're saying is absolutely true, there's nothing I can do about it, because I am contractually obliged, or I inferred that he's contractually obliged to perpetrate the lie, as we know." So that's kind of a proof to me, if you like, that what we've been saying all along about doctors is absolutely correct. So yeah, I think that. Oh no, there is one last thing about I wanted to talk about the NHS, and that is the angel who basically saved my life. This should have come at the beginning, really. Nurse Kathy Moran. I'll say her name again, Nurse Kathy Moran. Here come the tears. Yeah, basically, Kathy probably saved my life, because when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in March of 2022, the doctors all used to treat me with ill-disguised contempt. You could see it in their eyes. I was a big fatty, and I'd obviously brought it upon myself, and they just treated me with contempt. Now, when I was dismissed from that doctor's office, she gave me prescriptions for metformin, I think statins, two prescriptions anyway, but they don't matter now because they never got cashed in. As I left her office, Kathy grabbed me and took me into hers, and she sat me down, and we talked about what I ate, and I described all the healthy carbohydrates that I was eating. She said 4 words to me: all carbohydrates are sugar. Light bulb moment. So I went away and did the research, threw away the prescriptions, and here I am today, a healthy, very healthy carnivore, the most spectacular success story that Abby's ever seen. Now, there is a happy ending to this story as well, because I was watching, I think it was you and Brett who broke his doctor's mind. Am I right? Was that Brett? I think it was.
That's right. Yeah, Brett Smith.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, Brett talked about Dr. Sarah Holberg and how he wished he could have thanked her, but it's too late now because we lost Sarah in April 22. I thought, I'm being lazy. I need to track down, because Kathy's moved, I need to track her down. So I did. And I tracked her down to a surgery in a little town called Willerton, or a village called Willerton, not too far away from me. And I found the email for the surgery. And I sent an email thanking Kathy for saving my life, basically. Now, it went to her practice manager, and her practice manager immediately got back to me, thanking me profusely for a happy story, and she would pass this on to Kathy. So I now know that I've been able to thank Kathy. Now, it just so happens that one of my best friends in the world, Rachel, is in that surgery, and she goes there quite a bit because she keeps on falling off a horse and keeps on having to go and get repaired, more of which later. So I've asked her, when she goes there, if ever she bumps into Kathy, please tell my story and thank her on my behalf. She didn't last time because there was no nurse in, but she reckons that she will probably eventually bump into Kathy. And because Rachel is very familiar with my story, she will actually pass that on. So yeah, another happy ending. Yep, here come the tears again. But no, happy story. And yeah, that I think really that that wraps up my NHS chapter of this particular interview. So with your permission, we'll move on to the next chapter, which is the international carnivore community. And there's going to be a lot of shout outs in this to various different channels. We'll start off with Healthy Carnivore UK, Sarah. I think she's a friend of yours. And she actually has upgraded the carnivore community to the carnivore family. And I'm quite happy with that, because we are one basically big happy family. I think you'll probably agree. Now, when I started carnivore in last year, I, like most people, was very much a lone wolf, a very lonely carnivore. However, I have now got friends all over the world, literally all over the world. And these people are friends as well, not just acquaintances, such as, we are friends now. We've been mates for a year or so, I suppose. Not quite a year, Dave, but you've been aware of me, and this is my third Dave Mac, as we call him. So yeah, let's just have a look at the list. Excuse me while I'll have to do a bit of reading here. So yeah, the best thing about carnivore is the carnivore family, even better than the other health benefits, because we're a happy family. So I've got to give some shout outs here. So I've already done Ziggy, and I've done Sarah. My second friend in the carnivore world, third friend, is Lauren Tucker, who was she was my second friend. She was Farmer's wife, farming life. But she's actually folded the channel, though she lives not very far away from me. So I'll be seeing her next year, more of which later. And then my third friend that I made in the carnivore community was Carl of the Primal Lifestyle. I've done quite a few interviews with him. He's my main, I'm his main supporter, if you like, because I organise a lot of interviews for him. I find a lot of interviews for him. I come up with content for him. And he actually calls me the puppet master because I pull his strings. So he actually has a code name for me in the carnivore world. I am the puppet master. So yeah, it's a big shout out to Carl, Primal Lifestyle. Again, if nobody on here has found him, please go and do so. He's only a small channel. Please like and subscribe. Smash that like button and smash the subscribe button, as we say. Okay, so now another one of my very best friends in the carnivore world, and one of your best friends in the carnivore world, is David Charles, DC Learning to Live. DC and I have been mates now for about the same time as you and I have. I've done a couple of interviews with him, and I'm doing another one in December between Christmas and New Year when I've got quite a bit of time off. What can I say about DC? Probably one of the kindest men in the world, a cancer sufferer himself. And the support that he has given to me and Lainey during our cancer journey. DC, you are something special. Anyway, that's enough said about DC, otherwise I will start bursting into tears. So we'll move on to another friend of ours, actually. Dave, I got her an interview with you back along. That is Dawn Bahula from California, resting witch face. Now, I found Dawn 10 weeks ago, 11 weeks ago. She did a very, very clever clickbait, an episode which was called "Why Do I Hate Carnivores?" So I went there fully armed to the teeth. I was ready for a gunfight. And basically she said, I don't hate carnivores. She said, I'm just jealous of them. She said, I hate them because I ate them and I want to be one of them. So she actually got 4.2 thousand views on that. But she's actually only got 402 subscribers as of this morning. So again, you've got, I don't know how many thousands of people will watch this, but please go and find Resting Witch Face and like and smash the subscribe button. She's got 402 subscribers at the moment. I've told her that I'm going to aim to get her 500, past the 500 mark with this interview. So please, you generous, kind and loving carnivores, please go and find Dawn. She's absolutely amazing and she's very upbeat. And just in the last couple of days, actually, she's taken another step forward because she's not happy with her weight loss, but the body composition is amazing. What she did, she put up a before and after photograph of her 7 months ago and then one very recently, and she was wearing the same outfit. And the difference is utterly unbelievable. It really is. So she's finally accepted that, yeah, even though she's not lost as much weight as she wanted to, that her fat loss and body composition is mind blowing. It really is. She's 63 years of age now, but she's stunning. No, she's a glamorous granny, as I called her this morning when I was chatting to her. She calls herself an old chick, but I said, no, yeah, glamorous granny is far better, really, because she is a grandmother of 8. So, yeah, I found her, I introduced you to her and you did a brilliant interview. I've got no doubt she'll be coming back to you fairly shortly because she's got a lot to report on. And I got her interview with Carl as well. So, yeah, so big shout out to Dawn. Big shout out to Dawn. And there's going to be more shout outs, Dave. I've got so many friends in the carnivore world, carnivore family now that I've got to. Right, we touched on it. Right, so again, another friend of mine, Alex Carnivore for Life. Here's the aging in reverse chap, the one that Dr. Berry got totally wrong when it comes to the aging. He's on my veteran carnivore WhatsApp group, so we are mates on WhatsApp. Same goes for Lee Copus, the chap with the no colon. He's on he's Kent Carnivore. I think a lot of people would have heard of him because he's quite famous now in the carnivore world. He does a lot of panel shows. He's probably one of our leading lights in Britain. But again, he's on our small 10-person veteran WhatsApp group, so I have regular contact with them. All friends, all of us friends. On that WhatsApp group as well as Paul, UK Carnivore guy. He's gone a bit quiet recently. But I'm very jealous of him because he went to the public health collaboration meeting, and he actually got a picture of him with Dr. Ken Berry. So that's a prize souvenir. So there we go. Oh, and right. So moving on to America, I've become very good friends with Lynn Tucker. Lynn Tucker Carnivore, and her. I'm not so much. I haven't really spoken to Ribeye Ranger, her husband, but Lynn and I have actually been talking this morning, and I do owe her a reply. So Lynn and I have now become friends in the last week or so, in fact, which is very nice. I haven't got email or WhatsApp with her, but we speak in comments quite a lot. The same may be said for Christy, Meeting Wellness over in California. Again, we chat in comments. She knows who I am now, and we regularly exchange comments. The same can be said for her great friend John Laspina, carnivore teacher down in Florida. Again, John and I exchange comments quite a lot. I told him my story about diabetes, and I said spread the word, and he said, yeah, he said just keep on commenting, keep on telling the word. Even if one person reads it and saves their life, it's worth it, Yeah, so carnival teacher, right. Finally, last but not least, my very first friend in the carnival world as of August of 2023, and that is Larry Allhands, carnival soldier, former chief warrant officer of the Texas National Guard, and he basically aims his channel at veterans. So I was one of his very first subscribers. I did his very first episode of Mission Carnival with him in September of last year. And then in July, he announced this year he was going to take a break from YouTube because he has a 16-year-old son. He spends time with him. And then he disappeared. He never came back. I was mortified. I was really, really worried. So anyway, what did I do about it? Well, I filed a missing persons report with the International Carnivore Police. And that person was my beloved wife, Chief Inspector Laney of the International Carnivore Police. So she was very worried about the fact that Larry, our great friend, had gone missing, because she was a great admirer of Larry as well. He introduced us to the air fryer. We owe him quite a lot. So Chief Inspector Laney of the International Carnivore Police launched an investigation. She tracked him down via Facebook, which I don't have, and basically gave him what we in Britain would call a bit of a bollocking, a telling off, and said, George is really, really worried about you, Larry. She said, please contact him and let him know. Here come the tears. So anyway, on my birthday, September the 2nd, Larry actually got in contact with me via WhatsApp to reassure me that he was okay, that he was basically concentrating on being a dad, and concentrating on his personal life much more. So felt that YouTube, he didn't really have the time to carry on with YouTube. So he gave me an explanation as to why he disappeared. It was on my birthday. Probably the best birthday present a man can get, to know that his friend is okay and alive and well. Here come the tears, but there we go. I'm holding my composure, Dave, so there we go. So yeah, big shout out to Larry. If you're watching this, mate, good on you. And you haven't folded your channel, and hopefully when you have more time, when you sort the life out with your son a bit, then you'll be back. We miss you. We all miss you. So yeah, good on you, mate. And there we go. That really completes my roundup of the International Carnivore family. But of course, there are millions of us out there, so I can't mention everybody. But I hope other people out there feel the same way as I do about the International Carnivore family. We are kind, we are loving and supportive.
Yeah, it really is like a really, really, really big family, right?
It is, absolutely. It's and the thing is that, as Dawn says, since she joined it 10 weeks ago, we are non-judgmental. We are supportive. She actually mentioned that some of our other plant-based friends argue amongst themselves. They're bitter and twisted, whereas we are kind and supportive. And when people fall, we don't kick them when they're down. We pick them up again. That's just us. That's just us. Anyway, right. So moving on before I lose it completely. Let's have a. God, I am going to lose it completely on this one. I'll warn you. No, actually, it's not this one. We'll move on to the alcohol next. Okay, so as you know, I'm a heavy drinker, or have been until fairly recently. But I'm having to change my relationship with alcohol because it's causing Lainey a bit of distress because I'm drinking too much, and I'm becoming a bit grumpy sometimes when I drink too much. I'm losing my memory and no short-term memory, and it's not good for my brain. We'll come to the body later, but yeah. So I've just taken 11 days off drinking, which came to an end on Friday night because Lainey fancied a drink, and so she said, I said, well, I'm abstaining, not a moderator. She said, no, I am your moderator. Okay, fair enough. So we had a nice glass or two of wine, and she told me when I had enough. And then when I announced that I was giving up drinking, it caused a massive conflict of interest with my job in the horse racing world, because as we know, horse racing people tend to be bon viveurs and champagne lifestyle. My boss in the horse racing world, who is also my best friend, one of my best friends, John, basically took massive exception to it. He said, "How can you be my PR man when you won't have a drink with my owners or with me?" He said, "If you think you're not drinking champagne when we have a winner, you've got another thing coming." And he made a joke. He said, "George, you can either do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way. I'm going to bully you into submission." And I know John, he's a very determined young man. And so I thought, the easiest route here is just to moderate instead of abstaining. With Lainey as my moderator. So we went out with John last night because we had something to celebrate. His father, who is the license holder, the racehorse trainer's license holder, had actually given up his license a couple of years ago. This week, he successfully got his license back. Now, John can't get his license until he's been an assistant trainer for 2 years. So Kevin, his father, is going to hold the license while John does the training for the next 2 years. So we had something to celebrate. So we went out and celebrated last night. No hangover this morning. It was good fun. It really was. So that's my relationship with alcohol now. Just see if there's anything else I need to put in there. Owners' expectations, trainers' expectations. Oh yeah, and we've got the annual event called Remembrance Sunday coming up, which is like Veterans Day, I think, maybe, and Anzac Day, I think you guys have. Hence, I'm wearing my poppy, which is the emblem for Remembrance Sunday, which commemorates the 11th hour of the 11th day month of on Armistice Day. We have it on the Sunday closest to Armistice Day, so that will actually be the 10th of November this year. Now, again, the veteran community tends to drink, so there is no way that I could blend in that day unless I had a drink in my hand, because we raise a glass to fallen comrades, absent friends, we actually call them. So yeah, that'll be a day when I do drink and I do moderate. However, most weekdays now, Monday to Thursday, definitely, maybe some Fridays, I won't be drinking alcohol, and I do feel better for it as well, to be perfectly honest with you. So yeah, so that's my relationship with alcohol. No apologies for drinking alcohol, because we will see at the end of this interview what my liver's doing. And a quick heads up, it's doing fine. So yeah, there we go. So we'll deal with the alcohol. We've dealt with the alcohol. Right, now here comes the bit that's going to be really, really difficult for me. Why? Because I am a successful carnival influencer in my own little world of friends and workmates, especially my workmates as a matter of interest. In fact, I'll be going out to the pub after we've done this, and I'll be meeting up with Cora, who was so inspired by me that she went to Carnivore for a while. You actually did an interview with her, but she's back to low carb now. But she's basically succeeded so to the point where she knows that she can go. She's one of these people who's added stuff back in, knowing that if she stays low carb, that she won't lose her health benefits. So fair play to Cora. She was great. So that was one successful influence, but I've got others as well. Right, George, another George. Back in the spring, I was working on a construction site with him, and he's a machine driver. He was very obese, vitamin B12 deficient, and gluten intolerant. Now, when he was working his machine, he was fine. He could work no problem. But the minute that it went quiet and he had just had to sit in his cab, he would fall asleep, and it got noticed by some pretty high up people on a few occasions, and he was in danger of losing his job. Now, I don't like to be the foghorn. I like to be the beacon. I like to let people come to me. But on this occasion, I felt I had no choice but for a direct intervention. So I approached him, showed him my before and after photographs, told him about my success, and recommended Carnivore to him. Now, George, thankfully, is a open-minded individual who likes meat. So he went away, bought the premium quality meat and went carnivore, went full-blown carnivore. Now, I moved on from that job for quite some time. And then my old mate Scouse bumped into George, and he said, George, you wouldn't believe what's happened to George. So I contacted George, my carnivore convert, and I got this testimony from him. And this is where the tears are likely coming. From George: not only have I lost loads of weight, but generally feel much better all round. I had a fungal nail infection on my big toe, and even that has sorted itself out. And nail infections are hard to get rid of. And here comes the difficult bit. Thank you for enlightening me to carnivore, George. So, composure going. But no, I've held it together. Okay, so that's just the first one. That's just the first one, Dave. Moving on. Celia. Now, Celia is a 71-year-old lady. Now, she's not my carnivore success story, but she is her own carnivore success story. Now, she is a carnivore and racing crossover because she's a very horsey lady. And I actually discovered her on a now defunct carnivore group, which we had in the UK for sort of like baby carnivores. I think I told you about it before. But both Celia and I found it far too much. It was just too noisy. And we both left it. However, when I set up the WhatsApp group for the racing, people interested in racing, I brought Celia with me. So she's now on the racing WhatsApp group with us. She owns her own horses. She lives about an hour and a quarter away from me in Wales. We've actually yet to meet, but we will do before too long, I feel sure, because she wants to visit the stables, and I will be there to host her. So anyway, Celia's story. It's the miracle again. At the age of 61, Celia had to give up riding horses because she was too old, arthritic, or had problems, couldn't get back in the saddle anymore. Fast forward 10 years. Somewhere along the line, I'm not exactly sure when, but she found carnivore. Guess what? She's back in the saddle at the age of 71. Riding out every day.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. So 61, unable to ride anymore, too old, old lady. 71, young girl again, springing into the saddle every day. Celia is an introvert. I suggested that she come on with you, but she said, no, I'm an introvert. I'm a lone wolf. I don't want to. So anyway, I'm telling her story. So big shout out to Celia, because I know she'll be watching this. Yeah, great. And just one other thing about Celia is that she's an artist. And she has painted her own profile picture for WhatsApp. And she has painted an intricate leopardess. So she clearly identifies as a leopardess. Unlike our lioness friends, such as Nia and Christy over in America with their lioness lifestyle, Celia identifies as a lone wolf, a loner. So she's gone down the leopard route because they, as we know, they are not a pack animal or a pride animal. They're leopardess. So yeah, amazing picture, by the way, Celia. Very proud of you, and it's great to be your friend. So yeah, that's Celia. But we haven't stopped yet, Dave. Okay, so this is a story which I told you back along. Again, another amazing turnaround. This one's a diabetes story. It's my friend Lee on the building site with me. Lee's a 40-year-old. He was scared. His diabetes was that severe that his life was pretty much in danger. And he has a wife and a young child. And he was scared that he was going to die and leave them behind. Now, he knows my story. So let's just go through some figures. He had an HbA1c of 87 mmol in the UK, and we'll translate that to 10.1%. Does that make sense to you, Dave? Yeah, it does make sense to you. Excellent. Okay. So yeah, he was quite severe. He's so severe that he didn't have to have the yearly checks. He had to have 3 monthly checks. Now, about a month after one of those checks, so 2 months before his next one, he knows my story. Everybody on the building sites knows my story now. I'm quite famous for it. I'm well known for it. So he reached out to me. So I said, right, okay, then if you work with me, we can sort this around. Now he didn't want to go full carnivore, but he's very much likes meat. But he also likes a few of the sides, such as beef tomatoes. He's got a great weakness for beef tomatoes, mushrooms, peas, and some of the above ground vegetables. So I said, that's fine, no worries. But we got to stay clean keto. So get rid of the potatoes. Don't really like potatoes. Get rid of all the below ground vegetables, and certainly get rid of all the processed foods and sugar. So that's no problems. So now he is a very clean keto, mainly meat, but he does have the peas. I mean, I think he told me that last Friday night he went out to I think it's a Miller and Carter restaurant, which is a famous steakhouse, and he didn't have any chips, but he did have the peas and the mushrooms. I think he had one onion ring as well, which he got off his wife's plate. But his main meal was a big steak. So anyway, cut a long story short, 2 months later, I had him for 2 months, and he went back for his diabetes test. He was very nervous when he had to go to get the B appointment because he really wanted to succeed. Happy days. Okay, so remember what we said about he was 87 or 10.1%. He came back 49, or in other words, 6.6%. Now, in the UK, 49 puts you 1 point into carnivore. So he dropped from 87. He dropped, what was that, 38 points or something? It must be 38. I think it's 38 points to 49.
That's amazing. And that's that's 3 months?
2 months. Well, yeah, 3 months. But 2 months when he came under my care.
That's crazy. And
don't know what to say.
The thing is, he could have gone to any doctor, and he could have chosen any doctor, and no one would have been able to help him.
Exactly.
Other than give him, well, maybe try this medication.
Precisely. Nothing makes me happier than helping other people. And this is a case where I've taken away somebody's fear, and that is a big weight off their shoulders. Here come the tears. Anyway, let's move on. I'm trying to hold my composure. I am actually crying at the moment, so I'm just going to dab my eyes. Please forgive me, everybody, but these are tears of happiness and joy. They are not tears of sadness, so please let me get away with it. Anyway, moving on, and I thought that was going to be the last one until yesterday. Unbelievably, about 3 weeks ago, I was temporarily joined on my building site by a young Scotsman called Mark in his 40s, who had quite a lot of health problems. Now, he had an uncle who had type 2 diabetes and was grotesquely overweight, but he discovered carnivore and lost 10 stone and totally smashed type 2 diabetes. Now, that gave Mark a lot of food for thought. Then he met me, and I had the same story. 10 stone is 10 times 140 pounds. So we work in stone in the UK. So I've lost 7 stone, which is 93 pounds or whatever, or 90 something pounds anyway. So I had the same story, smashed type 2 diabetes as well. So that gave Mark affirmation that the carnivore is for real. So he asked me about it, and I gave him my starter kit, which is Kelly and Dr. Ken, also Nina Teitschult's Cesars, and Zoe Harkin, the fiber. And there's one other as well. Oh yeah, Dr. Sarah Holberg, reversing type 2 diabetes starts with ignoring the guidelines. And he's very interested. And I have this radar. I know when somebody's going to succeed. So I've had a lot of people sort of show an interest in it and start, but they can't give up the carbs and they want their roast potatoes. I kind of got an instinct now for when somebody's going to succeed. It's when they watch the videos and they come back to me for more. I know that they're going to succeed. And I just had this instinct that Mark would succeed. He was only on my site for 2 weeks, and then he got moved because he was required elsewhere down the road. And yesterday, out of the blue in the evening, I got an incredible testimony from him. The first thing to note is that he's lost 7.5 kilograms in the 3.5 weeks that he's been doing it. So I can't do the immediate conversion. 7.5 kilograms.
It's
That's like,
about
that's
25
about
pounds.
20 pounds. Yeah, 25 pounds in it. And that's in the first 3 weeks. So he said his testimony, was yesterday. He said, been doing this, I'm 3.5 weeks in. He said, I've been full carnivore for the last 5 days. He says, I've not, to use his words, took inflammatory meds for over 2 weeks. He said, my knee pain is much more manageable. And they told me that I need a knee replacement. Ha ha. So it sounds like that if Mark continues, then that knee replacement ain't going to happen. Poor old Dr. Sean Baker lost his license because he kept on sending people away to lose weight. And they came back and said, no, I don't need the surgery anymore because basically I feel myself. So it looks like Mark is going to put one surgeon, one lucrative operation less. Dave, it's incredible
awesome.
what we're achieving just by being us
Yeah.
and by getting the message out there. That's 3 stories of my own carnivore influence, if you like, and Celia as well, who is a friend of mine. How many more stories you've got how many? I don't know how many carnivore friends you've got in the family. Now must be what you've done. Interviewed over 700 people or something.
Yeah.
It's so basically
getting close to 800. It's crazy.
I know. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Dr. Ken Berry has 3.27 million followers, which tells me that we must be at least 3 million strong worldwide. Each of those individual stories, the ones that are told on here and inspire other people, if each carnivore can just get one person to convert or to heal themselves, let's not call it conversion, let's call it healing themselves. And then, of course, that person will then go and be an influencer in their own right. We're winning this war, Dave. The narrative is changing. But we are being suppressed. There is a great jackboot on our head, which is the big pharma and big food.
Well, there's a lot of money to be lost.
Exactly, that's right.
The more people we influence, the more money goes down the drain.
Oh, I know. And what happened to the world economy? It had to be a gradual change because basically we're going to have more people in the meat industry. That's the only way that the economy. But there's going to be a lot of very angry people out there, a lot of CEOs, a lot of big pharma people. We won't touch on how they think and how they operate because we all know. We say it there. Anyway, so that is basically my testimonies, and I just about held it together. So we can move on now. Right, there is one thing which I forgot to put on the notes, and that is upcoming events. Now, on Wednesday at 1900 hours GMT, Carl is hosting a Halloween party, a fancy Halloween, which is going to be fun. Carl of the Primal Lifestyle. It's going to be a 4-person or possibly more panelists. It will consist of Carl, myself, Sarah at Healthy Carnivore UK, and our absolute guest appearance from Dawn Bahula, who we mentioned earlier, Wrestling Witch Face. Why is she the star? Because she's a practicing green witch. She actually makes herbal potions and lotions, and she is an absolute Halloween enthusiast, shall we say. If you get a chance to go on Wrestling Witch Face and go and see how she gives you a tour around her house, and it is just it's scary. It's quite spooky, really. She is that much into it. She even has her own three witches coven with a cauldron and everything. She's great. She's so funny, and she made a wonderful little short for my granddaughter back along, in which she played the role of Nana Witch, and she was making a special potion for my granddaughter to keep her safe, and of course she got it wrong. It was comedy wise, and blew her cauldron up, and of course she had to then sort of like readjust her hat, and it's very funny. So Dawn's going to be our guest of honor. She is a practicing witch on Halloween, and it's going to be fun. One of my mantras and Carl's is carnivore is fun, and we're going to have a fun night that night with a serious underlying message. I think it's going to be called Trick or Meat, which is quite clever. So we're looking forward to that. Now, even bigger than that, as I've got an announcement to make, I tend to bite off more than I can chew, and I don't think I've done it this time. However, as we know, meetups are becoming quite a thing around the world. I think you've probably got a meetup coming up in Brisbane.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with DC and that. So I've decided that Britain needs a meetup, probably through alcohol glasses, I suspect, which is where most of my best ideas come from, to be perfectly honest with you. So I've only gone to bloody organise it, haven't I? With Carl. We have the venue, which is a farm very near the legendary town of Glastonbury in the southwest of England. We have the date, which is August the 2nd, 2025. And we even have the caterer, who is a carnivore horse racing crossover. I've known Ashley, as he is called, for about 30 years through rugby and horse racing. He is a farmer, a meat farmer. He specialises in turkeys and geese. But he has a sub-business run by his wife called Alison, called the Happy Hog Roast. So they can cater for hog roast, beef roast, lamb roast, and barbecues. Now, Ashley knows my story, and he is very carnivore friendly. In fact, to the point where he says that his best customer at the farm shop is a full-blown carnivore who spends the most money there. It's not somebody I know, but Ashley knows him. Ashley himself is slightly, well, he's overweight. Sorry, Ashley, if you're watching this. I'm sure you will be, but you won't mind. And that's causing a bit of joint problem. So he was actually talking to me on the phone the other day and is thinking about going full-blown carnivore himself to try and sort it out. So yeah, we have a very carnivore-friendly caterer organised, and very professional as well, because obviously I've been to a couple of his events in the past. So yeah, we got the caterer, we got the venue, we got the date. The venue has undercover seating for 200 people, has outdoor potential for up to 450, but we're going to try and keep it undercover because of the unpredictability of the British summer. So we're looking at probably a 200-person meetup. And we're going to invite anybody from the UK, anybody worldwide if they want to come. Or even Kerry's even talked about, he wants to have a big meetup in the UK because he especially wants to film Lee Copus. So I'm kind of dangling the carrot in front of Kerry at the moment, and he's responded to me and says he definitely intends to have a big meetup in the UK, and he'd love to come for a big meetup in the UK, but he's the finances of the Healing Humanity understand a bit difficult at the moment. Sarah came up with the idea of crowdfunding it. I'm not sure whether we might discuss that on Wednesday night, but because she adores Kerry, and she just wants to have that photo opportunity with Kerry, I think, as most of us do. So yeah, who knows? Something might happen. But Carl and I have got a lot of organising to do. We've got to cost it out, but the foundations are laid, and we believe it's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. It's going to be hard work. There's no question about it. But nothing which isn't hard work is worth it at the end of the day, Dave. So that's yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's do it, shall we say? Carl can make things happen. I can make things happen. Sarah is very much on board with it. She is very excited about it. So you've got three good brains there, all working together. I'm hoping to get people like Coach Stephen and Richard Smith, Keto Pro, involved, because they organised the first successful carnivore conference in this country this year. Obviously, we'll try and get Lee involved. I think we're going to make it happen. Anyway, that's enough of that, because I've noticed that we're up to the hour point, so I need to move on to and two more things. So have we got time, Dave? Yeah, we have got time. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so the next one is a happy story, and it's called the "Who the hell are you?" story. Okay, and it concerns my great friend Rachel. I think we touched upon earlier. Now, Rachel and I have a backstory which goes back 6.5 years to February 2018, when both she and I joined the construction industry together as traffic management specialists. And we had to do a 3-day course at a place called Cannington College. There was only 3 people on the course, so it was fairly intimate, if you like. We helped each other through it. We tested each other. We rehearsed with each other. And we all passed the course. The other chap being a chap called Ryan, who's a good friend of mine now as well. And we went our separate ways. I'm not on Facebook, so I didn't keep in contact with her. I didn't take a telephone number because, it's one of those ships that pass in the night thing, isn't it? And, happy to meet you. And we discovered actually that we had a shared interest in horse racing. She actually works on and off professionally as a stable girl in the horse racing world. So wind forward to May the 20th of this year. I know it was May the 20th because the following day we bought 2 racehorses from the Goss sale in the UK. So yeah, Monday, May the 20th, I turn up on a new job on a building site. Who's just putting her protective equipment on the back of her van? But Rachel. I recognise Rachel straight away because she has very distinctive purple hair, which she always has had. It's a style choice, fair enough. So I went, Rach, great to see you, mate. I said it's been a few years since she took a step back. So I kind of invaded her personal space because we're very familiar with each other. So I took a step, and it spontaneously came out. I said, who the hell are you? And I suddenly realised what was going on, because when she knew me in 2018 was when I was at my unhealthiest. I weighed 293 pounds, couldn't walk, barely. So I was a different human being back then. So I took a step back, gave her a bit of personal space, and the look of confusion on her face was, she's got a very expressive face, Rach. It was total confusion. I said, Rach, I said, sorry. I said, this is George from the traffic marshal course at Cannington College. I said, it's been 6.5 years. She said, what the hell happened to you? And again, another spontaneous outburst. It was literally, what the hell happened to you? I can explain. So I explained. And she was just like absolutely amazed. But this story has an even happier ending. This story doesn't actually belong on Carnivore, but it belongs more on DC's channel, Learning to Live Again, or Learning to Live. So I said, how's the horse racing going? And a shadow fell across her face. It turned out that she'd been working in a big, quite a famous stable yard in this country. One of the big ones. I won't mention any names. But in January, at the age of 48, she fell off a horse and broke her hip. Now, Rach is she describes herself as a stubborn person. So she's a gym rat as well, very fit. So she went to physio, went back to the gym. Within 7 weeks, she was back on a horse again. She went back to work, but at the age of 48 with a broken hip, they obviously considered her a complete liability, and they managed to get rid of her. I don't know whether they did it legally or not, but basically she was shuffled out of the system. So that would have been probably March time. I met her on May the 20th. We had just launched. John and myself and his father, Kevin, had relaunched the family business on May the 1st of this year. So we were 20 days in. So I said, Rachel, I said, we've just launched. We're buying horses tomorrow. I said, would you be interested in becoming part of our relaunch of the operation? Again, very expressive face, confusion, doubt. Is this man serious? What's he got to offer me? He's not even he's never worked in a stable in his life. I said, Rachel, I'm serious. We're buying horses tomorrow. Doubt, suspicion, turned to hope, then back to fear. She said, I've learned not to trust. She told me since, I've learned not to trust people at face value. The next day I was working with her and I was following what we were doing at the sales on YouTube because it was being broadcast. We bought 2 fabulous horses. I showed it to them and then she believed. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Rachel is now an integral part of our operation when it comes to hands-on with the horses. And she is flying up the gallops again in the jockey position with a fierce grin on her face and fire in her eyes. Her husband, Wayne, is immensely happy because he's found a role within our operation as well, because he's a YouTuber himself and a filmer. He specialises in sea fishing. But now he has switched his attention to filming his wife riding up the gallops with a grin on her face. And he's producing some excellent action videos. I am very happy because Rachel has become probably one of my best friends in the world now. And she's also learning the dark arts of the bloodstock. She's a very enthusiastic student, so we're in daily contact. We do it during the week because we've realised that basically the weekends belong to our for me, Lainey, and for her, Wayne. So we don't do the work during the week, but we're in daily contact, and she's an excellent student, learning very, very quickly. So yeah, happy ending. Again, sorry, DC, but I borrowed one of your learn. She has learned to live again. She's learned to enjoy life again. When I met her back in May, she was a broken individual, broken hip, broken mind. Now it's all healed.
That's
Oh, you're
lovely.
gone again. Anyway, so yeah, not exactly kind of story, but one thing I will say about Rach is because she obviously has to look after her health and to ride horses, she can't put on weight, so she is clean keto. I've eaten lunch with her on a few occasions. Yeah, she's clean keto, so no worries there, and she's in perfect metabolic health. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that story, Dave, and I hope your viewers enjoyed that story because it is a very happy story. So yeah, last chapter of this particular interview, we're going to move on to health benefits, my actual health benefits. Okay. So we touched on the NHS. We touched on the fact that I've lost 293 pounds. I have here, very kindly, Nurse Abby printed out my last test results, unlike the people before. So I've got my full test results to hand. So we'll start going through the health benefits. Right. So we touched on morbid obesity, 293 pounds down to around 200. Although on December the 1st last year, I did see the around 100 loss. I was down 193 pounds. But since I've healed, I put on more muscle and bone mass and density. So I'm probably put on another 7 pounds since then. Type 2 diabetes. Okay. So in British terms, I was 50 points, which is just into type 2 diabetes. That is 6.7% in the, I think it was, do you measure in Australia? Do you measure percentage or?
In Australia, it's the same as the UK. In Japan,
right.
we do the same as the US.
Yeah. Right. So the US is percentage and we're MMOs. Yeah, you got it. Okay. So for the benefit of everybody, I was 6.7% or 50. Right. So when I went back with Nurse Abby, 32 or 5.1, which is the very.
That's like, that's not even close to pre-diabetic. That's awesome.
No, pre-diabetic is 42. So I'm 10 points below pre. That is at the very lower end of the actual possible scale, to be perfectly honest with you. Again, here come the tears, but yeah, I succeeded. Smashed type 2 diabetes out of the ballpark. And there's a subtle change in the attitude of the NHS because remember, Dave, diabetes is chronic and progressive. You cannot reverse it. Bollocks. So the subtle change is that back in the old days, once you were a registered diabetic, you couldn't unregister as a diabetic. You were a diabetic for life. Now it's changed subtly. It hasn't been sung about from the rooftops. But Nurse Abby told me that as my last 3 readings have been below 48, which is the pre-diabetes upper threshold, I am no longer a registered diabetic in the UK. I am healed, a healed diabetic. They used to call it remission. Now it's healing. Now it's cured.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see why your face you're stunned.
I find that so weird that they've got to register.
Yeah, so that's it. I'm no longer a registered diabetic. So I don't have to go for my retinal neuropathy test or anything anymore because it's all cured. And she did actually say that, I told you about the spectacular success story, but she did say that not only am I a cured diabetic, but I'm also one of the most metabolically healthy person in their surgery. So make of that what you will. Chronic and progressive, my ass. Anyway, so yeah, happy days. Okay, so we'll move on to triglycerides next. So back in March 22, my triglycerides were dangerously high. They were 4.3, or in American terms, 380, which is dangerous. It really is. Okay. This year, 1, from 4.3 down to 1. Okay, which in America is 88. So again, bottom end of the triglyceride scale. So no triglycerides are causing havoc and glycating my blood now. So which accounts for the HbA1c. So yeah, so 4.3 or 1, 3 down from 4.3 to 1 or 380 to 88. A massive improvement, as I think you'll agree. Right, so now we move on to the HDL to triglycerides ratio, which I don't fully understand, but basically I've worked it out, and mine is at 0.38. So anything 1 or below is good. So 0.38 is nearly through the floor. Dave, I've cured myself.
It's like I was saying before about, I think Mark, you know, like if you'd gone to any doctor and said, "What do I do to fix this?" they would have gone, I don't know.
Yeah, that was Lee actually. He was a diabetic, sorry, yeah, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Oh, I
I've
don't know.
healed myself.
Take these meds.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm a cured diabetic, and it's not to make me cry. You know, I had the why that makes me cry. No, I've had the success story which makes me cry. Lisa Whitman, by the way, the why that makes you cry. So, but I haven't finished quite yet. We're running over time, but it's just a little bit to go. Right. So now that's the metabolic health taken care of. So we're going to go through the other, the non-scale ones, the non-measurable ones. Migraine. Haven't had a migraine in years. Used to have to take a drug called Sumatriptan. Gone. Boils. Just like Kelly Hogan, wherever my fat was lapping over and against my thighs, in the thighs, and where my belt was, where my huge gut was hanging over my belt, I was getting boils. Gone. Completely gone. Oh, another story as well from when I went racing on Saturday, or went to racing yards. Kevin, the trainer, has a hole punch. Obviously, there's a lot of leather stuff. 2 years ago, he put 3 extra holes in my belt. On Saturday, I had to put another 2 in because my waist size has shrunk that much. Anyway, that's why I'm not getting boils anymore. So I've not got that huge hanging over gut anymore. Athlete's foot. I suffered for years from athlete's foot and jock itch, and the one under the armpit, which is corpora tinea corpora, gone, completely gone. Haven't had athlete's foot since going carnivore. TMJD. Now, what makes you say this is I saw you interviewing a doctor the other day, and he was talking about TMJD, temporomaxillar joint disorder, clicking jaw, very painful clicking jaw. I had it quite badly, completely gone. Haven't had it for years, and it wasn't until I saw you interview with that doctor, and he talked about it. I realised that it's gone. Charlie horse. Now, it's what the Americans call the spontaneous cramping between the ribs. I used to suffer terribly from it. I've had probably about one in the last year, and that was because I moved awkwardly. But I used to get them all the time, just from laughing, speaking, coughing, anything. And it's very debilitating for about a minute or two. Gone. No more Charlie horse. Proximal neuropathy. Undiagnosed, because they didn't want to diagnose it, because it meant they would have had to do something about it. But my nerves in my thighs, which is proximal rather than peripheral, when I used to put my foot down heavily, it felt like an painful electric shock going through my thighs. I couldn't put my foot down heavily. That's why I struggle so much to walk. Like I said, not only am I walking 3.5 miles a day now, but I'm experimenting with running again. So that proximal neuropathy, which I'm sure it was, has completely gone, even though they wouldn't diagnose me. Okay, joint clicking. When I was ill, standing up or getting out of bed, it sounded like a machine gun going off. Click, 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 click. It was all my joints popping. Gone. I still get the occasional crack in the joint, as we all do, but not that spontaneous firework effect of staccato machine gun type firing. It's got to be carnivore. It's just stop this test. Right, mental health and energy. Where can we start, Dave? I am officially the most irritatingly happy guy in the world at the moment. Irritatingly happy came from a great mate of mine at my workplace, because I was whistling the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which I think I've told you is my go-to anthem for when I'm feeling positive and we're going to take the battle to them. And I was smiling. He said, George, why are you so bloody irritatingly happy? I said, because that's just me now, Harry. I said, I've cured myself. I've made some great friends around the world. I've helped people heal. He knows Rachel as well. I said, I've got Rachel back, her life back. I said, what have I got to not be happy about? I work with you guys as well. He said, oh, you're so irritating, George. But that's what it is. It's the mental health and the energy. And even though I drink, I hardly sleep. Well, not exactly hardly sleep. When I say hardly sleep with them, it sounds like insomnia. I've just got so much bloody energy that I not only survive on 6 hours sleep a night, but I freshen up. I'm out of bed at 10 to 5 every morning and walking to work at 10 to 6. And I don't nap during the day. I don't get any energy dips during the day. It's not until I go to bed about 9 o'clock. And even then, I'll often lie in bed thinking about things at about 10. So probably I sleep from 10 till 10 to 5. So I've got to try on that. Was that 7 hours? 7 hours sleep a night maximum? But I often wake up in the middle of the night thinking, because that's when solutions seem to come to me. And they come to me very well, actually, like that. I often wake up with a solution to a problem. So, yeah, no more than 7 hours of sleep a night and no energy dips during the day. And just a positive mental attitude towards life now. I want to go out and help people. I want to go out and spread the word. And I want to go out and be happy. And I want to make people laugh. Because I get a great pleasure out of making people laugh, as I know you do. Hello, Belle. Are you there somewhere? Good old Belle. We haven't seen much of her recently, have we?
Yeah, she's been packed away because I moved my studio. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I hope she comes back one day, because she's the carnival pin-up girl at the end of the day, isn't she? And we all miss her. And anyway, right, we're nearly finished, Dave. We're very nearly finished. So just one last thing to do. Right, I'm a heavy drinker. Okay, so when Nurse Abby gave me my blood test, you get the usual question about, oh, how much do you drink? She never even touched on alcohol. She didn't ask me about alcohol.
That was the one I always lied on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't need to anymore, because she didn't ask me the question. Why? Because my liver function test was absolutely perfect, drinking 70 units of alcohol a week. So she assumed I was a non-drinker. So I said, Abby, what about alcohol? Don't you want to know? She said, no, your liver function test fine. You're obviously not a drinker. I said, Abby, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a high-functioning alcoholic. I said, I drink every day. I drink 2 bottles of wine a day. And she didn't want to believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But I gave her the honest George stare, looked deep into her eyes, and she said, are you being serious? I said, yes. She said, you got a perfect liver function test. Now, my theory about alcohol has, over the years, has been that it's been tried, convicted, and jailed for the sins of fructose. I think I'm living proof of that now. If anybody doubts me, send me your email address and I'll send you a copy of that. Or send Carl, actually, your email address, and Carl will pass it on to me, because it's there in black and white for all to see. So those of you who believe that the alcohol is a devil incarnate, I agree it is one of the demons in the world, but it is not the devil incarnate. It really isn't. Fructose is. And so basically, because I'm not assaulting my liver with fructose, and because I'm protecting my liver with fat, and my mitochondria are now being built out of healthy saturated fat and cholesterol rather than polyunsaturated shit, my liver is protected. Sorry, there is one last thing we need to touch on. That is the cholesterol. I was expecting the cholesterol argument.
Cholesterol. Sorry,
Yeah,
casserole.
No, sorry, the cholesterol argument. I was really expecting that, because as we know, when we're carnivores, our cholesterol goes up, doesn't it? Back in January, in UK terms, my cholesterol was 7.1, which is a trigger for a statin. No, wrong. 5 is the trigger for the statin tool. So this time I was expecting my cholesterol to have risen even more, because I'm eating much more raw steak and fat now. I was shocked, very, very shocked, by the fact that my cholesterol has gone down from 7.1 to 5.5 total serum measurement. Obviously, it's not an accurate, because they measure cholesterol, but it's in fact a measure of lipoproteins. I was taken aback. And Abby said, and she said that I can see there's no point in having a statin conversation with you, George, because you don't believe in pharma. I said, no, you're absolutely right. Now, I went away pondering this. Why is my cholesterol gone dangerously low again? Dangerously low. I've got a theory. I think that because I'm 2 years and 7 months into my journey of healing, that I've only just completed the healing. Okay? So back in January, when my total serum cholesterol was 7.1, I think my body was still healing. I think that the fire was still raging inside me. I think that we needed more fire brigade, more firefighting officers. Therefore, the liver was sending out more cholesterol because it was needed in the healing process. As my metabolic health shows, and the fact that I'm no longer type 2 diabetic, I am now healed. So, what's the upshot of that? We don't need as many emergency services, do we? Hence, my cholesterol level has gone down, because I am no longer rebuilding. My body's no longer rebuilding. It has rebuilt. Therefore, we are now in maintenance mode. And 5.5 is where my body is happy at, cholesterol-wise, for maintenance mode. I say again, I am 2.7 years into this journey. And I know a lot of our carnivore friends out there are newbies to this. So we have to urge you to be patient. Just stick with it. Trust the process and listen to your body. Don't try and lose weight too quickly. Don't worry about your cholesterol going up, because as I have shown, when you actually heal, it is likely to go back down again. Do not accept those effing statins. Whatever you do not accept them. Although no, I'm not a doctor, but that's my own opinion, and we have to. I will give a disclaimer. Listen to your doctor if you must. But yeah. Have you got any thoughts on that, Dave? Do you reckon I could have a theory there?
No, it sounds plausible to me.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I keep waiting for with myself, because my cholesterol is very high, and I keep thinking, okay, well, one of these days, I've just got this feeling that one of these days is just going to gradually start going down.
Yeah, well, I'm the living proof of that. Sorry, Dave, remind me, how long have you been low carb or carnivore for now?
I'm about 3 months behind you, it sounds like.
Okay, so
about it's under 2.5 years. It'll be 2.5 years at the end of this year. Yeah.
So we're pretty close. So yeah, so basically 8 months ago or 9 months ago, I still had high cholesterol. So there is a chance that if you are following me, then there is a chance that you might start seeing a lowering of it once your body is successfully healed. But obviously, it may be that you've got more healing to do because of you had the mini stroke. You had the stroke, didn't you, at the age of at a young age?
Yeah, I've done a lot of damage, self-inflicted damage as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
It could be a long
time. I have done. Yeah, it took me 56.5 years to inflict the damage that I did on my body. And I think, as Anthony Chafee says, don't expect a miracle cure within a few weeks, because it took you 56.5 years to get there. Just be happy that if it takes you 3 years to get yourself out of the shit that you got yourself into. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's taken me definitely 2 years and 7 months to get myself out of the mess that I got myself into. So I think I can't remember who it is who talks about vitamin P. It might be Coach Stephen. Vitamin P is patience. Be patient. Don't expect the miracles overnight. Carnivore is a miracle. It is a miracle, but don't expect it overnight. What's the expression, Dave? The impossible we can do at once. Miracles take a little longer. Be patient.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And that's my great friend, finishes my sheet. So it's time for I've got it down as the closing conversation. So over to you.
So I guess, look, from my side, I mean, this seems like a stupid question to ask now, but I guess there's no going back for you, right?
No going back. No, absolutely. The only way is up, my friend. I'm just waiting for the stiffness of my knees to come back. Why would I go back, Dave? Why would any of us go back when we found the miracle? When we had call it what you want. I'm not a religious man, but I'm quite happy to call it God-given. I call it grace. Actually, that's another thing. No, my battle hymn is the battle hymn of the Republic, when I'm thinking about taking the battle to the enemy. But when I'm being thankful, my anthem is Amazing Grace, because it applies to us. Think about it. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Here come the tears again. So yeah, Amazing Grace is my go-to anthem when I'm grateful, when I'm in grateful mood. Okay. Now, so I call it. Some people call it God-given. Some people call it destiny. I prefer to call it grace. It is grace that saved me. Why would I go back on grace? Why would I throw insult into the face of grace when it was grace that saved me? So no, Dave, there's no going back.
So how can people reach out to you, George?
Okay. So I'm on email. You've got my email if you want to put it out there. I'm quite happy to field anything. But my main contacts in, but the guy who calls me the Muppet Master, no, Puppet Master, Muppet Master. Yeah, I suppose some people might think I'm a Muppet. However, it's Carl, the Primal Lifestyle. I'm his right hand man. He and I do a lot together. He's also a stand-up comedian, so we have and I think you did a Belshine with Carl, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Carl met Belshine, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the Primal Lifestyle. Carl and I are in very regular contact. I've got him on private WhatsApp as well as our little UK WhatsApp group. We're always bouncing ideas off each other. So yeah, if you need to contact me at all, go through Carl and his comments. I've got lots of my own. He's interviewed me 3 or 4 times now. So find one of mine, put it up there, put it up, replying to one of my comments, because then YouTube will notify me that I've got to reply to a comment. So that's the easiest way of short-circuiting the whole system. Go through Carl, find one of my videos. I would have commented on it, and just do a reply to one of my comments, and I'll find you. No problems.
Awesome. So I'll link to your email and Carl's channel below. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing an update with us, and also such happy news about all the people that you've helped. Really appreciate it, George.
Dave, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for having me back on. But as I know that you welcome people back on with open arms. You welcome everybody. Anybody who's out there now who's watching this and is a bit introverted or is a bit nervous about it, you've seen how we've worked together, me and Dave. You've seen how Dave relaxes everybody. Go on, you can do it. Let's get Dave's hours up. Let's get him up to the 100,000 subscribers that he's looking for. Oh, and please, again, go back to when I talked about the international family and go and help some of my smaller friends build their channels. Dawn, Carl, Ziggy, all those people, because they're small at the moment, but they deserve to be bigger.